Hello, friends, and welcome. Today, I'm going to be talking about a rather niche phenomenon, but one that bugs me a little bit, so you've all got to hear about it as well. And this is the phenomenon of incredibly botted posts on Twitter. Now, for those of you who aren't on Twitter, you can just click off right now, unless you're really interested. But this is something I encounter every single day, and it's especially annoying in the era of Elon's Twitter, where supposedly the platform has been fixed, it's X now, we've got rid of all of these bots, we've solved all of these problems, but this is still something that happens, because I'm going to take you through a number of posts that have huge amounts of likes on them, which I'm just going to be honest, there is no way in hell that this is organic engagement that these posts are getting, because they are all incredibly leftist posts getting hundreds of thousands of likes at a time for asinine virtue signaling or really bad jokes or ghetto talk. Is that a good way of putting it? You'll be able to see what I mean when I go through this. So this is the first one I'm going to give an example of. So this is some random account called Conray. How many followers? 200,000 followers. Okay, fair play. Saying you can't break them apart. Says, hey, and it's a T, meeting up with the LG and B, and then they form a brick wall of LGTB? LGTB? I don't think that's the right way around, but, 5.2 million views, 93,000 likes. And again, this format of the comic is terrible. The order of the letters, as far as I'm aware from how people normally put it, isn't even right, and I don't know how many people even noticed that, but it gets almost 100,000 likes. This does not come across as very organic to me, and I think you can see an example of, in this post, of kind of proof for how inorganic it is, because you get 93,000 likes on the first post. I don't know exactly the mechanism by which you bot the likes. I would assume either you yourself buy the bots, or there are certain bots that are already active on Twitter that swarm for posts that have certain images and keywords in them that then puts them into the algorithm, which leads to them getting more organic traction off the back of that. Because if you get maybe, I don't know, a few thousand likes through bots, then it will inevitably start to show up on people's feeds. That's what I'm assuming is the case. I've never really seen anybody break down exactly how these bots work, but if you go down, they've actually got a follow-up post here, the day after. And, this has got 93,000 likes. That would be something that would, certainly, some of my engagement, I've had 40,000 likes on a post before, or something near to that. That kind of engagement goes on for days and days and days and days. You get the very slow, gradual build-up of likes, and then it kind of hits a peak point in the algorithm where all of a sudden it's getting a few thousand likes every couple of hours until it eventually slows down. But this takes course over the course of maybe 4 or 5 days, maybe even a week, in my experience, right? Especially if you're getting 5.2 million people looking at it. But you scroll down, the next day, when this should still be at its height, he posts a follow-up. I wrote this post on Instagram and I want to share it here with you. Only 1.5 thousand likes. That's almost a 10-to-1 ratio on the original post versus the reply. Now, I've got to say, this is not how things have typically happened for me. It's not outside of the realms of possibility, but if something's got almost 100,000 likes, you're going to expect it, if you put a reply to it, to get at least 5,000, 6,000, 10,000, maybe. I mean, this is so popular, and people agree with this statement ever so much, so surely the thing where you expand on it, especially given it's a leftist meme, you've left a wall of text here. Leftists love walls of text. They adore them. They live in walls of texts. It's all that they can breathe. It's all they can eat. But they didn't like it as much for some reason. So I think that's a bit of evidence to this being inorganic. And I think as well, I've just got to ask the question with this stuff, right? Because we'll go through, what's the point of this? I understand that people like to outsource their own thought to democracy. They want to understand that they're part of a group that agrees with them. So it's nice. I've experienced this before. It's nice if you post something and you get thousands of likes and you go, haha, I'm right. I'm the voice of the people. I'm the will of the people. They speak through me. But what's the point of doing that if you're paying for it? It's not real. it's a really, really false sense of popularity that you're getting for yourself. It's like if you see those kinds of rap crews where the guy's walking along and he's basically paying his entire entourage to be around him. They're not your friends. They're not your friends. They just hang around with you because they want to get benefits from you and get paid for it. It's the same thing with this. It's a very hollow kind of popularity. It's very, very strange. But if you carry on, here's another example. Now, this is replying to a post that says, "This is Paris. If you import the third world, you become the third world." And it's an image of a man smoking on the subway, the tube, being very rude, taking up a lot of space, kind of showing himself to be, by his body language, also no shoes, very arrogant, smug, and smoking. And the response is, "That man is certifiably French." Well, no, he's African, actually. 87,000 likes, 2.1 million views. This one I could possibly believe as botted, but at the same time, this is very Reddit humor. This is kind of a cultural and racial stereotype about French people. They believe that all you need to be French is to be arrogant, be rude, and smoke. And while, yes, those are some of the three most important components of being French, there is a bit more to it than that, such as, in my belief, being ethnically French. Although, to be fair, the French themselves have been arguing against that for about 200 odd years at this point. But still, very safe, edgy humor. Ooh, let's look at the French. Aren't they weird? Aren't they funny? But if you dare make an argument, if you dare make a joke against an African, then you are awful. You are Hitler again. 87,000 likes. Move on to the next one. Now, this is a very, very interesting one because there is no way that this is organic. Somebody, TLTM, let's see who they are, less than 2,000 followers, leftist, pronouns in bio, says, oh, the Swedish school shooter versus the BBC headline. So the Swedish school shooter is a white guy. Supposedly, I heard after the initial reports of it, supposedly he shouted, "Get out of Europe," while he was committing the shooting. Obviously, heinous, awful thing to do. He's trying to insinuate that the headline is implying from the BBC, that well-known far-right organisation, that it was some man of Arab descent who actually did it. Now, this gets, if I double-check here, 364,000 likes. Very, very unlikely for an account this small to get that much traction in such little times. But there's something even more dangerous to that, because when you do bot the likes, yes, a lot of it is completely artificial, but it does end up spreading awareness because it ends up on more people's feeds through the algorithm, right? This is a particularly dangerous one because guess what? This is rubbish. This is a lie. What do we have here? Geo, thankfully, correcting the record, showing that actually that image is taken from the article, and it shows that this is a man that was interviewed saying that he feared that there was a racial element to the shooting. In no way did the BBC try to imply that this man was the shooter and not the person who actually did it. But depending on how much of the interaction that this post got was organic, many, many people have gone on to believe the absolute rubbish that the BBC is some kind of far-right, racist, partisan organisation. And I know that it's partisan, but it's not partisan in favour of racists. I mean, good God, how delusional do you have to be? And then I found out that there's an account called Posts with Botted Likes, which collects some of these and posts about them. Like this one, you didn't hear about people being transgender until recently. Yeah, well, you didn't hear about Antarctica until 1820, but it was probably there the whole time. Well, we know it was there the whole time. This is one of those very smug Reddit kind of jokes where it's just, there is no joke to it, really. There's no punchline. It's just calling you a bigot and calling you stupid. 182,000 likes. Yeah, likely story. One of the worst accounts for it is this one, Evan Loves Wharf. Now, I've responded to a few of his posts in the past, but every single post he does seems to get insane traction on the account, and I can't say why, because Nancy Mace talks about something to do with a transgender person in a disparaging way. Evan Loves Wharf Nancy Mace should immediately be expelled from Congress for this. 33,000 likes. Let's see more examples of Evan. Mark Zuckerberg wants there to be more free speech on Instagram and Facebook. Evan, free speech literally only means one thing: Nazism. Mark Zuckerberg's a Jewish Nazi. There are so many of those these days. Obviously. 259,000 likes, which is either a complete condemnation of the concept of democracy, because it turns out that almost like 250,000 people thought that this was an insightful comment, or you paid for bots to like it for you. Now, while I do have somewhat of a dour view on the state of general intelligence amongst the masses, I'm not quite that down on them yet. Okay, I still want to have some faith in the people to not be blubbering idiots 24/7. So I'm going to assume that he paid for bots to like his post for him. Here's another one. This is, again, just a lie. Illegal immigrants don't get welfare. That's like the whole thing. How many likes? 110,000 likes. Thankfully, though, this one was community noted, pointing out, well, yeah, the federal level, but there are state laws as well, and 26 of these states do offer welfare for illegal immigrants. But again, most of the people won't look at that. They'll just see the initial post and they'll like it. And by the time that this gets added, you do start to get now, if you like something or share something, you can go into your notifications. If it gets community noted, it'll pop up for you to try and correct the record. If you've liked something that's rubbish, most people will skip over that in their notifications, though, if they even check them in the first place. Here's one that's just a really bad message and spreading very nihilistic worldview here. Somebody asks, what's the harshest truth that you've learned? Unfortunately, there are no benefits to being a good person. Almost 300,000 likes. Okay, I think that is a horrible message to spread, because there are benefits to being a good person. And similarly, if you're being a good person because you think it will get you things in life, then your intentions are impure and you're not really being a good person, or you're only wearing the skin suit of what you think a good person should look like. Either way, again, quite inorganic. Here's one of the most annoying accounts that obviously bots their likes. So this account, this like post got 169,000 likes in response to a bunch of people saying, here's a bunch of pretty conservative women. The new right, crazy, it looks just like the old right, with a bunch of German women from the 1930s wearing Nazi insignias like the swastika and throwing up Sieg Heils. Yeah, because this is just pretty women doing normal things, and these are people who were actually within an ideological regime, adhering to the ideological regime. The only similarity between the two seems to be white women smiling. Okay, so if you're a white woman and you smile for photos, sorry, Matt and his 169,000 totally legit likes think you're a fascist. They think you're a Nazi. And what do we know about Nazis these days? We know that their lives don't matter. This was one. Rage Against the Machine is always on point with this picture of Rage Against the Machine, who are part of the machine. They are far left socialists. They are insane communist radicals. But at the same time, they're more than happy to promote all government talking points, which have recently revealed to have mainly been deep state subversion in the first place. So they're more than happy to be part of the machine when it benefits them, saying Nazi lives don't matter. Who are Nazis? Well, sorry to break it to you. If you're a white person who is happy, it's you. And how many likes did this one get? 459,000. Is that likely? Is that likely when everybody knows that Nazi just means somebody who was normal 10 to 15 years ago in the discourse these days? Is that really what you want to see, is somebody saying you don't deserve to be alive? Apparently almost 500,000 people do, but I wouldn't be shocked if this person, Liberal Lisa in Oklahoma, who has 50,000 followers, fair enough, LGBT rights are human rights, I've never voted Republican, all a virtue signal, the whole thing. She presumably doesn't have any friends when she's at home, and so she decided that she needed to pay for friends to pretend to like her posts for her. Again, it's so hollow, it's so empty, it's such a pathetic way of living your life to get validation from fake likes off of the internet. It's bad enough if you're living your life getting validation off of likes off of the internet from strangers, but when you're paying for people to do it for you, paying for bots to do it for you, good God. And I think that this is a very good summation of this kind of thing. Is somebody said, perhaps the coolest sports picture ever taken. It was a sports photo where it's overhead and you've got the American flag. Somebody says, oh, I think you think sports exist solely as a means of exporting American imperial propaganda. Sure, meanwhile, for normal people, this exists. Okay, I don't even really know what they're trying to say. This kind of thing is very 95 IQ. If you're 95 IQ, you probably think that something insightful is being said here, that, yeah, other people play sports. I mean, it's a great picture. I'm not going to lie. I'm not American, so this isn't the coolest thing that I've ever seen, but this is just international competition by the looks of it. Is like, my photo is cooler than yours. No, my photo is cooler than yours. Gets 113,000 likes, and Alaric the Barbarian says that what this is people pathologizing normal thoughts like, I like my country and military aircraft are cool, and acting like deranged e-politics are normal, fetishization of the foreign with botted likes. So again, as you can see from this post, moving on to this post, what they're doing is they're trying to kind of manufacture this idea that there is a mass of people who think that, again, being normal 10 to 15 years ago means that you're evil. And other than that, I just don't understand why you would want to bot likes on your posts if you are actively paying for it yourself. You should probably, and this is maybe a bit of a leftist thing to say, you should probably go outside and talk to your family, talk to your friends, and do something better with your time.